Right, James, welcome to Handpan Voices. How's your day been today?
Very good, actually. Yeah, it's such a beautiful day, isn't it, at the moment?
Yeah,
So I don't know. I tend to wake up really early when it's nice weather. So I was in Wimbledon Common with my dog at 6 a.m.
yeah,
playing on the handpan. Beautiful light, the birds singing. It's the best time.
yeah. And then you probably go for a workout, don't you? You do post quite a lot on social, so you sort of go for your early handpan playing, do you? And then you
Yeah,
go for a workout.
yeah. I try to go to a workout like 4 or 5 times a week. Yeah, I actually went boxing today, which was a bit of a sweat pit. But I go to this MMA gym, so yeah,
Wow,
it's pretty hardcore.
that must have been sweaty in there today.
Yeah, it
But
was.
that's the
Yeah,
idea, right? I guess if you're not sweating, you're
yeah,
not doing
yeah.
enough work.
Yeah.
Well, you're a man who's kept in shape all your life. You are the people who don't know who you are from outside of the UK. You're quite a famous face from the 90s on a TV show that was really famous in the 90s and the I don't know if it was the 90s, the 200. Let's call it the noughties. Let's do that.
Yeah, I joined in 1993.
Oh, you did join in the 90s. Okay, I thought you did. Yeah. So tell people who might not know about Gladiators what it is and what you did on that show, what it was.
So Gladiators was a TV show based on, well, really based on the film Running Man with Arnold Schwarzenegger, where they had these superhero kind of characters that had these different skills, and then normal people would go against them. And what they did was kind of take it to another level, where they had the gladiators, if you like, that were all like dressed in lycra and
Yeah.
tanned up and bulging muscles. And then people would audition. We'd have 10,000 people audition every year to get on the show. Out of
Wow.
that, they chose 36. And they would go against us. And certain games were contestant friendly, others were gladiator friendly. So, for
Yeah.
example, chasing someone up a wall, they'd get a 10-second head start. The famous one was the pugil sticks, where we used to fight them with these
Yeah.
cotton bud style things. And yeah, it was like this huge show at a time where we only had four channels. So
Yeah.
we were getting 18 million viewers, in 1995, 1996. So yeah, amazing experience. I was very lucky. I got to do, I think, 9 years of it. So yeah, I mean, it opened a lot of doors, and certainly it was an amazing experience for someone. I joined at 19, so an amazing experience.
Did you? Gosh. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like looking back some of your pictures, you did look quite young in your face. Obviously, you didn't look young
yeah,
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
in your physique. But I very clearly remember Shadow and Jet and Rhino and yourself. It was a great show, especially Shadow. I think, yeah, he was the way he just stared people down at
Yeah, I actually
before.
trained with Shadow about 6 months ago. I hadn't seen him for a long time, and he's
Oh yeah.
he's got to be like 63 now. And we just met up and we had a bit of a workout, and it was good to see him because I hadn't seen him since like 95 or something. So yeah, it was great to catch up.
So let's try and put this together. You're on this TV show. I know you've also been like doing physical training, coaching through that time as well. I would have thought, but these days your focus is on the handpan and on sound healing, which is obviously why we're here on Handpan Voices. How did that shift happen? I mean, is this more sort of quieter, reflective side of you always been in there, or did something happen in your life one day?
Yeah. Well, my life seems to have gone in 7-year cycles. And
Okay,
if we just go back in time a little bit, I started as a bodybuilder when I was 12, and I was like fully all in with bodybuilding. And that got me into gladiators.
right,
Gladiators I did for 8 years, I believe, and I was like falling into gladiators. Then when gladiators finished, it's like, what do I do next? And I retrained as an actor. So I did 2 years at acting school, and then I
right.
ended up working as an actor for 8 years, and I'd got some amazing jobs. I was touring with the Royal Shakespeare Company in the USA for two
Oh,
years, and I was touring all over the place. And I just found touring life wasn't really for me because you're never really in one place. All I was doing
no.
was tour after tour. So then I kind of thought, what am I going to do next? And that's when I started doing a bit of strength coaching and personal training. And I got into strongman at that point, so I became a competitive strongman
Oh,
because I always
wow.
have to be doing something competitively, I suppose. And
Yeah,
strongman I
yeah,
did for about 8 years, and I really pushed it to the limit. I was doing masters, which is over 40, and
yeah.
I kind of really I got to the world's strongest master, and then I started doing. I thought I want to get a world record, so I was doing all these different crazy things, trying to work out what I could get a world record in. And I ended up getting the world record in something called the Dinny Stones, which is a grip world record. And it's like holding these stones on these rusty metal rings for,
Yeah.
for for whatever time. And when I did that, I massively injured my wrists. The bones actually
Oh,
shifted 3 millimeters out of my wrists, and they said, right,
ouch.
you can't do strongman anymore. You can't be doing anything aggressively competitive, but you've got to keep the wrists moving. And he actually went like that, the guy. So,
Wow.
I then, bizarrely saw a RAV Vast drum on Facebook. I saw somebody playing a RAV Vast drum. That's
Yeah.
how I got into it. So it was really the injury from the strongman. I had to move away from that, and I needed to find something. I've always enjoyed music. I played the side drum in Scouts when I was like 12, and then I got a drum kit and I played that. And when I was acting, I was the bongo man in the club, always playing with sticks. I'd never used my hands. And I don't really know why the RAV, I was drawn to the RAV, but I saw somebody on, I thought that looks super cool. So I bought a RAV Vast, and that's how I kind of dipped my toe in. And the sound healing and the gong baths, that all happened at a similar time. Well, a bit before, really. I've started the gong baths about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I went to a gong bath in Bali, and my sleep was transformed. I just had this amazing night's sleep.
Right.
And I came back here and I thought there's nobody really doing them.
Yeah.
So I started touring around doing gong baths. I trained to be a gong. I went to the College of Sound for a year and trained to be a gong player.
Yeah.
And then I realized there wasn't many training, so I created my own training, got it certified. So now I have a sound healing school to qualify people to become gong players. And then we have the Handpan Academy now as well, where we teach people to play handpan.
Let's go back to that Bali moment then.
Oh, yeah,
that
yeah,
sounds
yeah.
like it was quite pivotal, right? So you were at a yoga retreat in Bali.
Yeah.
What made you go to that for a start? I mean,
We had a day off. My
Yeah.
ex-girlfriend was a yoga teacher. And
Right.
so I went with her. She was teaching on the yoga retreat. And we had a day off. And I booked this. It looked like a pyramid. It was called the Pyramid of Chai. And I thought we were going to visit a pyramid, like in Egypt. I thought it was like a mock pyramid. Anyway, I didn't realize it was a gong bath in a pyramid. They'd built this pyramid and they had a sound bath within the pyramid. So they had like 3 gongs, they had a singer, they had all sorts going on. And they had 200 mattresses. And then you'd lay on the mattress, put a blindfold on, they'd do this gong bath, and then another 200 people. And it was just like, I thought, wow, this is actually amazing business as well. I was just, my cogs were ticking in my brain thinking, I've never seen anything like this. And it's full, like 5 times a day.
Yeah.
So it's got to be doing something right, hasn't it?
So you're quite entrepreneurial, James. I get this feeling. You seem to me like I've only sort of got a brief sort of glimpse of you, but you feel like you're a person who gets things done. To me,
Yeah,
I think that's one of your. Yeah,
it's definitely, because I've never been like the biggest, I've never been the fastest, I've never been the strongest, but I've always had this willpower. If I'm into something, I'm all in, and I think that carries over to things I'm passionate about. So yeah, I think. For example, like when I was in Gladiators or strongman or handpan now, I've got that passion, but also I like to have, a good solid foundation for work that I can kind of monetize, and then that makes everything else go smoothly as well.
we definitely need people like you in this industry and in this little scene that we've got. I think for sure, somebody that gets things done for sure. But let's go back to when you first started learning the RAV and you first started learning the handpan. How did that go in the early stages of learning it? Did it feel natural right away, or was it slow process? Did you tell me about how you learned?
A natural player. I again, because I like to do things correctly, I was looking for videos, and this is where I found Rosie and Amy Naylor. I was doing their videos, trying to learn the RAV and learning some basic patterns, and then I found this Master Handpan and Handpan Dojo, and Master Handpan had a RAV course. So I did his RAV course. I just happened to have the right key. I think it's a G Pygmy he does it in. And I was doing those courses, and I was playing, because at this time I was a yoga teacher at this point, because bizarrely I'd become a yoga teacher because I had nothing to do in lockdown. So I decided to become a 500-hour advanced yoga teacher. So I was teaching yoga, and then I was playing the handpan at the end, and then I was doing gong baths. Sorry, I was playing the RAV Vast at the end, and I was doing the gong baths and playing the RAV Vast at the end. So that was really my kind of introduction.
So you did the yoga class, then you did the gongs, and then you played the RAV. All you.
Yeah. I was like a one man. And in lockdown, because this was in lockdown. So they had a set up like a TV show. So I'd go and let myself in the yoga studio. I'd teach a vinyasa class. I'd teach a yin class, teach a gong class, and then I'd play the RAV. And it was like the best day of the week for me, because lockdown is like, again, in lockdown, I tried to be super efficient in getting stuff done. So I was like learning the didgeridoo, and I was kind of, playing the gongs, and I was trying to get all this stuff done. But one of my favorite things was that one day where I was teaching yoga and doing my gong bath in the studio and playing a bit of RAV.
That's incredible. It was dark times, wasn't it? Obviously for social people like yourself. I'm
Yeah.
sure you're quite a social sort of guy. But I've heard a lot of good things come out of it, like people having this time to learn things and really committing and focusing on something. Like Amy Naylor started doing like proper teaching and proper training through that, lockdown. That's when she thought, right, I've got the time to do these online courses. Let's do it. And three and a
Yeah, I
half
wish I'd
million
been
views
playing the
later.
handpan then, because I could have really elevated. But I hadn't been introduced
Yeah.
to it at that point. So, but yeah, I built a gym in my garden, and then I had the whole of my neighborhood were coming to my gym, my garden gym, and we had like,
Right.
yeah, this became So I've still got it actually. I've still got this garden gym, but it was really built for lockdown.
Right. James's lockdown gym.
It's called Hunter's Gym. There's signs and everything. Oh yeah,
Is
people went
there?
to town with it. People were buying me signs and.
Oh, that is great. So you were helping the
Yeah.
community as well as helping people online as
Yeah, all my
well.
neighbours came round, and it was nice because it was outside, so we weren't breaking rules too much. It was all, and people were desperate for exercise, and all the gyms were closed.
So you talked about your yoga classes. You did Gong, sound baths. You did the RAV, but not the handpan. So tell me about what was your introduction to that handpan? Can you remember the first
Yeah, I
day you
can
played it?
remember.
What was it like?
So basically, I bought a handpan, and it wasn't a very good one, and I kept it like 2 weeks, and then I sold it on eBay. I thought it's not for me. I'm a RAV man, and
Right.
then I ended up doing an acro yoga course. I was doing this with this guy, the acro yoga, which is where you're flipping people like I was a base, and you're doing all these crazy moves like
Right.
acrobats, a cross between acrobats and yoga. And he was
Ah.
obsessed with getting a handpan. He was like, and because we
Okay.
became friends, I
Yeah.
kind of thought, well, if he's going to get a handpan, I'm going to get a handpan. And
Yeah.
so we basically got one about the same time. Yeah, so that was kind of how I got into it. And I got a Zephyr. I went to Zephyr, and
Right.
he actually
Yeah.
had one that his business partner was selling. So that my first handpan, which is an unusual first handpan, was an F2 Equinox.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my
That's
first
what I play
handpan.
at F2. That's what I play at F2. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love the F2. It's such a great sound. That is
Yeah.
a good place to start. A Zephyr. Very
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, yeah. That was my first one. Yeah, because I kind of researched a good English maker, and he kept coming up.
Yeah.
And yeah, I went to see him, and he said it'll take me a year. This was when it took a year to make a handpan. He said it'll take me a year to make it, or it
Yeah.
just so happens he's selling this, so I bought that.
That's a classic sales line, mate. I think you were done there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I fell for a hook, line, and sinker.
It's going to take a long time. However, we've got
Yeah.
this one right away. Yeah, I'm sure he's done that. You know what? He's the top, one of the first 10 makers in the world, Dean, at Zephyr. You know that? So if you were going to count who started making handpans, he's like number 7 apparently in the whole world. So
Oh
he's
right,
like,
okay.
yeah, he's like one of the first ever. So yeah, I love his style of handpans. They're really, really cool.
Yeah, no, I really like Dean, and well, what I realised, after a while, was all the online courses were in decurred, so eventually I got a decurred off Dean as well. Yeah,
Yeah. So that's starting off your handpan journey.
yeah.
And you used to perform. I've seen a couple of your videos. You were in a what was that? What the little you were in a group, weren't you? I'm sure you've done lots of things online. It sounds like you've done lots of stuff. But what was that for? Were they called the 4-chord guys?
Well, I wouldn't call that performing. Basically, I played guitar for a long time, and I'm not
Yeah.
a great guitarist. I'm like what you call a dinner party guitarist.
Yeah.
And my friends, like my best friend Simon, he's in The Greatest Showman at the moment. He's playing The Greatest Showman. He's been in Les Mis. He's been in Phantom. He's been in Jersey Boy. He's been in like 10 West End shows. And we
Right.
lived together for maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
And another one of my friends is a composer, and he does like the music for like Strictly Come Dancing, Dancing on Ice. He does these huge shows, and we
Yeah.
all became friends. And the 4-chord Lords was initially a treat for my birthday. I said I really want us to do as a fun song together, and David said, you know what, I'll put something together. And then
Okay.
we went to his flat and we recorded it in there, and it went down so well. I think we did 2 or 3 others, but it went. It's not.
Oh, okay.
People were trying to book us for events and stuff, and we're like,
Yeah.
no.
You did a Christmas medley and everything. I
Yeah,
thought you
we
were
did
like
a
proper
Christmas
like
one, yeah,
touring
yeah.
little group and everything.
Yeah, no, sadly not. I would love that. I would love that,
Yeah.
but they're too high end for that,
Right.
And the thing about David, he's worked for like Adele and all these amazing singers, and people used to come up to him in the gym and say, "You're the guy from the Four Chord Lords." And he'd be, "It's not all I do."
Oh, I bet
So
that really
basically,
wound
the
him up.
thing is, it was meant to be all songs. There were just four chords. It was just the same four chords. And
Yeah.
there was a band called Axes of something or other, an Australian band. I think they did it first, and we kind of took it off them and just did a version of it. Axes of Awesome, they're called. Yeah.
That's great. So you obviously like to perform, James.
Yeah.
And one area of handpan which has got a very rich heritage is busking.
Yeah.
A lot of handpan original players started busking. Malte Martin started busking on the streets of Berlin. And you started busking on the streets of London with a certain young man called Saraphin. Tell me how you met him and how the Handpan Gentlemen started.
So I was on a retreat with Malte Martin, and I was, I was talking to him. And at this point, all I'd done is do online courses and play for my dogs. And he was like, "James, you've got to get out there and start playing in front of people and start maybe busking." And I thought, I'm like, I don't know, at the time I was maybe 49 or something. I thought, am I really going to go
Yeah.
and busk at 49 and, in the
Yeah.
streets of London? And then it just so happened when I got back, I mean, it's bizarre how things happen, isn't it?
Yeah.
As a friend of mine who I was playing a little bit of handpan and a bit of RAV with, he had an event at his house. He used to invite all his musicians round, and Saraphin was there. And I was watching him
right.
play, and I'm thinking, wow, he's quite good, and he's like super handsome. And I thought, my business brain's thinking he'd be great in a band.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
for a while we didn't connect, and then I messaged him. I said, "Look, we should really do busking together," because I knew he was doing it, and I'd never done it
Right.
before. And I thought,
Okay.
he said, "Yeah, come down." And we started busking, and we got on really well, and we found we were a really good mix because he's very intuitive with his playing, and I'm
Yeah.
a bit more logical and a bit more, I need to know the chord shapes, and I'm a bit more kind of the
Yeah.
theory side of things, if you like.
Yeah.
So I kind of create the songs, and then he kind of puts the icing on the cake around them.
Nice.
And so this seemed to work really well. And then
Yeah.
we got a lot of traction when we were busking, and I would always wear a flat cap. My thing is I always wear a cap everywhere. So we
Yeah.
came up with this name, the Handpan Gentlemen. And
Yeah.
so that's how
like
we
it.
basically started. And then we just started like busking a little bit. And then people started seeing us on Instagram, and now we do like loads of different events. I mean, we were opening a lion sanctuary last week. We were rescued lions in a big cat sanctuary. We had an amazing job there.
Brilliant.
We were on the stage of the Mayfair Hotel in front of 1,000 people for a corporate doing handpan and gong there, and we're doing 2 weddings next week. So we get these bizarre jobs. We're playing somebody down the aisle next week.
Are you? With
So yeah, we
handpan?
get these great jobs,
Oh,
and it's
wow.
all really just because I guess it's niche, and
Yeah.
so we really love it. That's the part of the handpan that I love the most, is the playing and the events and the performing, because I guess, a bodybuilder when I was 12, I've always wanted to perform in whatever aspect it is, but I've just had to
Yeah.
shift that performance over to a different genre. And I guess I've always been a frustrated musician. If I could have my time
Yeah.
back, I think
Yeah.
I'd love to have been a musician from when I was a kid. But so this
Yeah.
is perfect. So I absolutely love it. So yeah, I mean, the performing and the playing with Saraphin is one of my favourite parts.
Tell me about that first day busking, though. You must have been, I know you probably don't suffer from much nerves, but what was that first day
I wasn't
like?
so much nervous, but I think it was like we created a bit of a set, and what you find with busking is you have to play very different tunes to what you'd play in a gong bath. If you
Yeah,
start
of
playing
course.
that, people just walk past. So we created this kind of upbeat
Yeah.
set, and
Yeah.
really we just initially, when we first started, I think we had 2 or 3 songs, and we were just playing them extended because
Yeah.
people walk past and then they're gone, so
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. But then we
Yeah,
realized
yeah.
when we did our first festival, we did a festival, actually was the first job we did that wasn't busking, and we didn't have any endings to any of the songs. We had to where do we stop? So we kind of had to work on that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it was but I really enjoyed it. And yeah, even now we do the busking, now and again we go out there, and he's got the
Yeah.
full setup. So yeah, he really kind of taught me how to do that.
Oh, it is great. And I mean, when you're in this world, you think it's everywhere, but it's obviously not everywhere. What are the sort of reactions you get from people in the streets of London? Because it's
not many people know what a handpan is. I mean,
no.
it's such a young instrument, isn't it? 25 or odd years old. So yeah, most people are just fascinated with it. I think really people are mystified when you don't have a mic on it. And when we busk, we do have a mic and an amp. But
Yeah.
when you play it acoustically, I think that's when the real magic happens, when people are just like absolutely. So yeah, we do get a lot of attention of people not having seen him. I mean, there's very few handpan buskers. There's only like a couple. So
Yeah.
normally when people are busking, it's a singer, a guitar player, or they're doing covers of stuff. So we just tend to do like an upbeat set, and it is
Yeah.
quite niche. And again, I do love a bit of niche.
And
I
you're
do love
gonna
a bit of niche.
and you're gonna be performing at Hangout UK again this year, aren't you? Which you
Yeah.
did last year, which is where I first saw you. First saw
Yeah.
you play. You never. I mean, you do stand out, James. Right? You do stand out. You're this big guy, big muscly
Yeah.
guy that's sitting in the corner playing on the handpan. It was like you are. Yeah, you're very recognisable. And
Yeah,
I
I'm not your
remember that.
average handpanner, that's for sure. Yeah.
No, you're
No.
not. You're not. And I remember at the end of your set, I mean, you went down an absolute storm. Everybody at Hangout thought it was great. It was really good energy, and I think it was either you or Saraphin said, "Well, that's all the songs that we know.
Yeah, that's what we had. Yeah.
And then let's do that last song again, and then we just do it again." And people just loved
Yeah.
it. It was great. Are you gonna do the same sort of thing this year? You're just gonna sort of go
Well,
for the
we've
upbeat?
broadened our set a lot more, and I think we play separately a lot more now. Initially, then
Great.
we only played together. So I think this year we'll do more stuff on our own as well. Yeah, I've got like a lot of stuff that I play on my own now because I do a lot of separate events.
Yeah.
So I think what we'll do is our kind of banging stuff, and then we'll do some kind of softer stuff that we'll do separately. I say
Yeah.
separately. We might, I might play the cajon for him, or he might play the calabash for me, or something. So I think we'll try and involve
Nice.
each other as much as possible because it's always nice to have someone next to you when you're performing. And well, the great thing about Hangout, because a lot of the events we do, I did one actually. I was lucky enough to go to Cannes. I played with a player from Monte Carlo, and
Yeah.
it was his first event, and he wanted me there really as most of the events we do, people are talking. It's like a wedding or something. You're like a
Oh yeah.
background. And
Yeah.
my friend of mine was really shocked at this chat going on. I said, no, that's pretty normal. But the great thing about Hangout is people literally, you can hear a pin drop, can't you? People really
Yeah.
kind of listen to it. So it's nice to have that kind of niche people who are
Yeah.
listening to the handpan rather than just being a nice little background noise.
Now, this is where I sow a seed into your mind, and you've probably already thought about this. I have been building up to this already, but you are a person who seems to get things done,
I am,
James.
yeah. I
And
definitely.
you are. I think you are the person who's going to put on the next great handpan festival in the UK. I think you're the man to do it.
Well, I mean,
With
Hangout is is it the first ever Handpan festival?
first
Isn't it?
ever, but we
Yeah.
need more. I mean, I don't want to just have one a year. Why can't we? There's a couple more. There's definitely space for a few others. Is that something you'd be tempted to try and have a crack
Yeah,
at
well, I
some
was over
point?
in Germany last week,
Yeah.
and they're just putting. I was playing at Sound Sculpture, and they're just putting on their first festival, and they've got some amazing players going there, and they sold out. And they've only got I think 200 tickets, but yeah, it's a lot of organisation. I'd have to see if it was.
Financially
I think what
viable.
I definitely need to do with the Handpan Academy is they're always asking to meet up again. I think we need to do a concert in London. I think this would be more what I'd do. I'd get a venue, I'd get a few different players, and I'd get a couple of singers as well to give it a bit of variety, and I'd put on a show somewhere. I think that's probably more likely what I'd do.
That's a good start. That's a good
Yeah.
start. The seed has been sown. I know.
Yeah.
That, I know. That, yeah, I've heard that
Because all the
concerts
people
might
who
be-
come to the courses and they're maybe not massively passionate about going to a handpan festival, I think they would come and have a couple of drinks and listen to it, and then they would be, kind of brought in to do more. I think that's they'd be inspired. Yeah.
for sure. I do hope you do. I reckon you will. I reckon you'll start to put on events, and if you need any help or support, then there's loads of people.
I'll
that are going to
definitely
be
hold you to
helping
that.
you.
Yeah, yeah.
And obviously you've got Amy and Rosie, which are going to be, they're going to be in London soon, hopefully, being a part of the Handpan Academy at some point in the future. Tell me a bit more about that, the Handpan Academy, where you do it, how it started, and how it's going.
So it started when I was on that retreat with Malte Martin, and he said to me, "I'm gonna put a teacher training together."
Right.
He said, "I'm just kind of setting the seed for it now, and then what I'm going to do is have Malte Martin training method." And he said, "I'd really like you to start the London one." So
Yeah.
he actually sent me the Yato handpans before he started the teacher training. So I wrote my own little beginner's course.
Great.
Ta-da! And I was
Wow.
basically, he sent me the handpan, so I was running my own course. And then he did the teacher training, and so I did his teacher training. So now we have the Malte-Martin method and
Yeah.
mixed with my method, and that's what we do. And Saraphin comes with me, and we what we did. I wanted to make it a bit more fun as well, just to give it a bit of an edge for people who don't play the handpan, because playing the handpan for 2 or 3 hours can be quite mind blowing. So I have a drum circle as well.
Yeah,
So
I
the
saw
guy
that.
called Tadeus, you might have better hang out, who's a great player. So he does a little drum circle that's linked to the handpan. And then they have
Yeah.
a little break, and then they play the handpan, and then they have a little break, then they play a bit more, then we all play a song together, and then me and Saraphin do a few little numbers at the end just to kind of. So it does
Yeah.
work really well. And yeah, thank you to Molte for really setting this all out. And, he's the one that kind of set the seed. And it's funny, isn't it? There are certain moments in life that are very
Yeah.
pinnacle in changing your life. When I was 12, my mum took me to see Rocky 1, 2, and 3 in a 6-hour bonanza. I was
Yeah.
brainwashed. I've listened to Rocky music every workout for 37 years. And that's what got me into bodybuilding, that one moment, really. And this was really that retreat with him really was life changing. I was just so
Yeah.
inspired, and I realized it was time to make a change. And that's why all the handpan stuff started.
Wow.
I know.
That
It's
wasn't
crazy.
that
Isn't
wasn't
it?
in Leicester. It wasn't in Leicester Square, was it? That Rocky
No, I was
triple
in
head, or
York.
was
I
it?
was living in York. So this was
Right.
like back in 1987 or something, wasn't it?
Gosh. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
I
it
seem
was
to
Rocky
remember
1,
something
2,
like
and
that.
3 were in a 6-hour. Yeah, that was it.
So if money was no object, right, James? If money was no object, okay, and you didn't have to worry about that, if you could design a handpan experience, an event, and incorporate all your passion, the movement, the training, the sound, tell us where it would be and what it would look like, and who would you have there? Tell us
Well,
your
I mean,
ideal.
have looked at doing these kind of events, and I've been looking at places, obviously linked with a bit of fitness as well. So I've always liked doing stuff like the outdoor saunas and the fires,
Yeah,
and the ice baths, that kind of stuff. So I was going to incorporate something with that, and then an outdoor area where people can dance. So there's just music, but also handpan music that they can dance to, and
yeah.
then like really beautiful food, and so that yeah, it's a community thing. So it is something I have looked at. I have got a venue in mind actually,
I
but
knew
it's
it.
maybe
I
something I'll
knew
do
it.
next year. Yeah, it's
I
maybe
knew
something I'll
it.
do next year. It's only 40 minutes from London as well. So
I
yeah,
knew
this is
it.
something I'm looking at next year. Yeah, the tricky thing was really transporting the handpans, because one of the
Yeah,
reasons why where I teach, the room I rent to teach is very close to where I live, because I have to fit 13 handpans in the car, which is it's a bit like
right.
Jenga when we do it. I've got Seraphin here
Yeah,
loading them up, and we're putting little stands in to hold them in place. But we've got it
yeah.
nailed now. But I wouldn't want to drive too far with that. So yeah, there is a place I'm looking at maybe doing something next year, a retreat. And there's also my friend Sue Handpans has just opened a place in Italy, and he's got all the
Oh,
handpans there, and he's created this retreat center for yogis or for sound healers. But
yeah.
he keeps asking me to go and do a handpan retreat out there. So if I could get the people, I could definitely go to Italy, and because I wouldn't have to take the handpans, I could use his.
Yeah.
And he's got a really amazing retreat center where we could do like a handpan retreat.
That's exactly what Marloy did. She was invited to Switzerland with a
Oh
guy
right.
who had a location, who had one of the chalets, a huge, big, lovely Swiss chalets in the mountains, and he said, would you like to come over and do a handpan retreat here? And she was like, yeah. And she's been doing it for like 3 or 4 years. So
Ah, okay.
yeah, you just need a
Yeah, I suppose
facilitator, don't you,
it's
to help you?
who would you target at? Because all our courses are for complete beginners, and they what we found is really easy to fill a complete beginners, but it's quite hard to find people who are the next level. So I don't know
Yeah.
whether a complete beginner would come to a retreat like that. I'd have to do a bit of research.
Well, we could discuss it over a few beers over at some point in the future,
We
I'm
can
sure.
discuss it over a few beers.
Yeah. No, I'm interested in all this sort of stuff. I helped Amy put on a concert. It was a very small thing, but I loved being a part of it. Just help
No, we can
facilitate
definitely
it, put it
talk about
together.
that, because
Yeah,
yeah, it's just finding the one that would sell easiest. I think that's the thing.
of course, of course. So, do you think that's going to be your natural next step in your journey, or you're performing, you're
So
teaching, you're creating? Is that where it's
yeah,
going? Do you think?
the teaching just came. I wasn't looking to be a teacher at all. It just came because that's what happened. And now actually it's become a really nice little business. My goal has always been just to be as well-rounded a player as I can possibly be. So what I'm doing now is I'm hooking up with different players and
Yeah.
learning from them, and I'm off to see David Kuchman week after next to go, and I was training him
Wow.
online. I was getting his biceps pumped, and he was, helping with the
Oh
handpan. So
wow.
I said, let's go. We're going to meet in person. I mean, I've met him in Naxos before, but this time it's just me and him, and we're going to do. So I'm just trying to. I'm like a sponge at the moment. I've only been playing 3.5 years, and I
Yeah.
feel like I need another year to really cement.
Yeah.
To really, you've got to get those hours in, those man hours of rehearsal, and
Yeah.
surrounding yourself with great players to really kind of blossom. And so that's what my goal is at the moment. And the other stuff is
Yeah.
just incidental around that. So that's great that it's all come up, but it's not really my focus. My focus is just to become a really great player for the next year, and then see what happens from
Wow.
there, I suppose.
That's great.
Well, this is the trouble. It's the mindset, isn't it? Of the bodybuilder wants to be the best bodybuilder. The
Yeah.
gladiator wants to be the so. I'm now the strongman who wants to be the best strongman.
Yeah.
So it's not like I want to be the best handpan player. I want to be the best handpan player I can be. And
Yeah.
but as long as I put the hours in and I feel satisfied that I'm as good as
Yeah.
I can be, then that's
Yeah.
great. And then the other stuff just happened, is incidental. It just came around, as a part of that. But I think as you start to get good at something, then other stuff comes up anyway, if you're
Yeah.
really throwing yourself into it. And that's what happened with the teaching and the events with Saraphin. They all came up as a buy package, if you like, of me just trying to be a better player.
Well, your energy is infectious, James, and I hope I can sort of draw on that energy in the next few years going forward. It was been so lovely
Yeah.
to talk to you tonight on this episode of Handpan Voices. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much. See you very soon. Let's get this event sorted.
Yeah.